The sun was just waking up over Beverly Hills, but it was already getting warm. On a fancy street called Wilshire Drive, shiny glass buildings stood in a row. One building was extra special. It had no sign on the door, just a bronze logo on frosted glass. This place was called Cole Automotive Lounge. Inside, it was very clean and bright. The lights made the cars sparkle like stars. The floor was shiny and smooth like ice. Expensive cars sat quietly, like kings resting on thrones. There were Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and even a rare Bugatti that looked like a dragon sleeping under a magical light. Then the door opened without a sound. A man walked in alone. He didn't look fancy. He wore a worn-out leather jacket, a plain gray t-shirt, old black jeans, and motorcycle boots that had dust on them. He also had a baseball cap on, and some long hair peeked out from under it. He looked like someone who didn't belong in such a shiny, rich place. One of the workers, named Asher, saw him. Asher wore a sharp suit and was fixing his shiny cufflinks behind a big marble desk. When he saw the man, Asher's face changed. He looked at the man up and down. No shiny watch. No big group of friends. No loud talking. Just quiet steps and calm eyes. The man walked over to a silver Aston Martin and gently ran his hand over the hood like it was a treasure. Asher stood up, trying to smile politely. "Sir," Asher said in a careful voice, "are you looking for someone?" The man looked up slowly. His eyes were sharp and calm. Asher felt something strange in his chest, like he had seen those eyes before. "No," the man said. "Just admiring the Vanquish. Beautiful machine." Asher stood straighter, fixing his name tag. "I'm sorry, sir," he said. "This place is only for people with appointments. You need to be invited to come in." The man nodded slowly. "Good to know," he said. "I just thought I'd stop by. Heard some interesting things." "May I ask who told you about us?" Asher asked, trying to keep his cool. "No one you'd know," the man replied. That answer annoyed Asher. Something about the way this man stood, so calm and sure of himself, made Asher feel nervous. It was like the man didn't care what anyone thought, like he had been in places like this before. "Sir," Asher said, lowering his voice, "I think maybe you're in the wrong place. There's an Aston Martin shop on Sunset Boulevard. They're more open to walk-ins." The man gave a tiny smile, but it wasn't a happy one. He turned and walked deeper into the showroom, brushing his fingers on the mirror of a Bugatti. Asher frowned. He didn't like this. He pressed a button on his desk and spoke into an intercom. "Mr. Cole," he said, "we might have a situation." In the back office, a man wearing a dark blue suit looked up from his tiny cup of espresso. His name was Dante Cole. He was the boss. "Describe him," Dante said. "Worn jacket. Looks like a biker," Asher replied. "But I don't know. Something feels off. Like he's not just here to look." Dante stood up, fixing his Rolex watch. "All right," he said, walking out of his office. "Let's see what the wind brought in." Dante didn't walk like normal people. He glided. He had spent years talking to kings, movie stars, and rich business folks. He knew how to look important. Shoulders back. Chin high. Smile cold and perfect. As Dante stepped into the showroom, he saw the man. The one in the dusty boots and old jacket. The man was now standing next to a matte black Koenigsegg, one of the fanciest cars in the whole place. Dante didn't show it, but he felt something strange too. This man didn't look rich. His hair was too long. His boots were dirty. He didn't seem like one of them. Dante looked at Asher. Asher shrugged like, "I don't know what to do." Dante walked up to the man with a polite smile. "Sir," he said, "I'm Dante Cole, the manager." May I help you find something? The man looked at Dante with a calm face. Not really, he said. Just passing through. Thought I'd see the new Koenigsegg. That model is by appointment only, Dante said quickly. Only special customers can view it. If you'd like to leave your name, we could maybe schedule. I'm good, the man said, already turning away. He walked over to look at the vintage Ferraris like nothing had happened. Dante blinked. That wasn't normal. People didn't just ignore him. Not here. Sir, Dante said louder so others in the room could hear, I'm sure you understand. This place isn't open for tourists. The man stopped. He turned around slowly, and Dante saw something flicker in the man's eyes, a tiny spark like a flame just waiting to grow. But the man only said one thing. So, what's the standard, Dante? Dante smiled, but it wasn't real. Our customers are selected carefully. They are rich, loyal, and understand luxury. The man raised an eyebrow. And a guy in a leather jacket doesn't count? Dante didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Behind them, Asher made a quiet laugh. A woman near the Rolls-Royces whispered something to her husband and giggled. The man stepped closer to Dante. No offense, he said. But it's not 1962. You can't judge people by their boots. Dante's smile got smaller. We're just careful, he said. We want our place to feel exclusive. Some people don't fit the image. The man nodded slowly. Funny, he said. You care so much about image, but not substance. Dante's jaw tightened. By the way, the man added, I didn't walk in. I was already watching. You just didn't see me until you felt uncomfortable. Dante looked at Asher. Asher looked confused now, not so sure about things anymore. The man walked toward the Aston Martin Valor. He leaned in, looking at the inside of the car. His hands were in his jacket pockets. He looked calm, like he was deciding something important. The showroom was quiet. No music. Just the soft sound of the air and a cooling engine in the back. Dante watched him from across the room, his arms crossed tightly. Asher, Dante said quietly without looking away, get Nico. Tell him to clean the Koenigsegg right next to our guest. Asher blinked. Sir, now? Now, Dante said firmly. A few minutes later, a young worker named Nico rolled a cart of cleaning stuff toward the car. He looked at the man for a second, and you could tell he felt bad. But orders were orders. Keanu turned his head when he heard a noise. It was a cart rolling by with wobbly wheels. Then he heard a hiss. Someone had sprayed a bottle of cleaner. A strong lemony smell filled the air. Suddenly, splat! Some of the cleaner landed on Keanu's boots and the bottom of his jeans. Oh no! A young man named Nico said, looking scared. He grabbed a cloth and started wiping the mess quickly. I'm really sorry, sir, he stammered. Keanu looked down at his boots. They were already tough-looking, but now they shimmered under the lights with cleaner on them. He didn't look mad. He just looked calm. It's okay, Keanu said gently. He pulled a handkerchief from his jacket and crouched down to clean his own shoes. But across the room, someone laughed. A man in a fancy white suit was sitting near the espresso bar with his wife. He smirked and said, "Must be a new model, the rugged edition." Other people giggled too. The laughs were quiet, but they weren't nice. One man just stood there, saying nothing. His name was Dante Cole. He didn't stop the laughter. He let it happen. This fancy car showroom became a place where people got teased for no reason. But in the corner of the room, one person didn't laugh. Her name was Lena. She was young and wore black pants and a gray shirt. She looked worried. She hurried to the counter, poured a glass of cold water, and walked over to Keanu. "Sir," she said kindly, holding the glass with both hands, "if you need a towel or a shoe brush, I can get one." Keanu looked up at her, and for the first time since walking in, he smiled. "Thank you," he said, taking the water. Their eyes met for just a moment, and Lena suddenly felt something. This wasn't just any man. There was something different about him. Something big, and something maybe even a little dangerous. She walked away, and Keanu stood up slowly. He turned to face the room. The laughter had stopped, but the air still felt heavy. People were pretending not to stare. He took a sip of water and waited. Then he looked toward a shiny car, the side of a Bugatti. He saw Dante Cole's reflection in the mirror-like surface. Dante was watching him. Still watching. Still thinking. Keanu gave the tiniest nod. "You made your move," he thought. "Now watch mine. Are you still with us? If you are, type the number 8 below so we know you're following along." Keanu began to walk slowly through the showroom. But now, he didn't seem like a guest or a shopper. He seemed like something else. Like someone watching everything. Like a calm storm, hidden in plain sight. His boots made quiet sounds on the shiny floor. He walked past a Porsche 918 Spider and a rare McLaren Sabre. His hands stayed in his jacket pockets. The cars sparkled like treasures in a museum, each one protected by ropes. Not just anyone could get close. But Keanu didn't care about the cars. He was here for something else. He was here because of the people and the way they acted around those cars. This place had become a home for rich smiles and mean eyes. A place where people like Dante Cole made the rules. Keanu stopped at a table that had brochures and tiny cups of coffee. Nobody offered him one. Nobody asked if he needed anything. That told him enough. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small black phone. It didn't have a logo. Just a little fingerprint sensor on the back. This wasn't a normal phone. It was special. Secret. He held it in one hand and tapped the screen. The phone lit up without a sound. A screen appeared that looked like a travel journal. Keanu typed a secret 6-digit code. A new screen popped up. It said, "Black Key Protocol, Stage 1. Under it, a button that said, "Activate." Keanu waited a second. He looked around the room. Dante Cole was back in his glass office, sipping coffee and reading something on a tablet. He had no idea what was coming. Keanu tapped yes. Beep. A signal was sent. Far away, at Cole Automotive's main office, something big had just started. This showroom was now under a live secret audit. All the security cameras had been alerted. Every sound, every video from the last 2 days was being recorded and sent to a secure team. Keanu put the phone back in his pocket. He turned and walked toward a special red Ferrari in the back. The Ferrari Monza SP2 sat under a soft light like a crown jewel. Behind him, some customers were still sipping lattes. They looked at him but didn't see him. That was okay. Keanu liked it that way. Lena passed by again, carrying a tray of water. Keanu looked at her. She looked back and nodded. No smile this time. Just a quiet look that said, "I know something's happening." Then a sound broke the silence. Ring. A phone rang behind the glass office. Dante Cole answered. His face changed. He looked serious. Keanu could tell something was wrong. Dante's fingers squeezed the phone tightly. Keanu let out a quiet breath. Then, he slowly walked toward the big windows at the front of the building. He wasn't leaving. He was just making space for the truth to walk in. He didn't have to yell or fight. He only needed to press one button. And now, everything was beginning to shake. Outside, a new sound rumbled through the streets. It was soft but strange. the engines of big vehicles. Something was different. 3 dark-colored SUVs pulled up outside. They didn't make noise. They didn't look flashy. They looked official, like they belonged to the government. Inside, people started to feel nervous. Conversations stopped. One man even stopped drinking his espresso. From the glass office, Dante Cole saw the SUVs. He stepped closer to the window and frowned. Then his face turned pale. The doors of the SUVs opened one by one. 4 people in dark suits stepped out. Behind them came a woman with a silver ponytail. She held a leather folder close to her chest. None of them wore name tags. None of them smiled. They had a job to do. In the middle of the group was a man named Ronan Vale. He was very important. The big boss for performance at Cole Automotive. People whispered his name in meetings. If Ronan showed up in person, it meant someone was in trouble. Keanu turned and stepped back into the middle of the showroom. He let the moment sit. He let everyone feel it. Asher, one of the employees, swallowed hard. He whispered something and left the room. Dante stepped out of his office, trying to act calm. But his voice sounded too high. "Mister, I didn't know you were coming," he said to Ronan. Ronan didn't answer him. He looked straight at Keanu. And then he nodded. "Sir," Ronan said with respect. Keanu nodded back without saying a word. That's when Dante understood. He looked at Keanu, then at Ronan, then at the SUVs, then back at Keanu again. He saw the long hair, the calm face, the kind eyes, the strength, the quiet power. "Keanu Reeves?" he whispered. No, it couldn't be. Not just the movie star. This man was more than that. He wasn't just visiting. He was someone important. Someone with power. Someone who had just changed everything. Dante took a wobbly step forward. "I didn't know," he said. "Of course you didn't," Keanu said calmly. All around them, people were whispering. Someone took out their phone to look something up. The workers looked nervous and tried not to make eye contact. Keanu walked forward slowly. His voice was still soft, but now the whole room was listening closely. "You judged someone just because of their boots. Not who they really are," he said. "You looked at a leather jacket and thought that meant something. Not the person's heart." Then Keanu looked at Asher. "And worst of all," he said, "you didn't even try to hide it." Asher looked like he wanted to disappear. Dante coughed a little and said, "Mr. Reeves, if I had known who you were." Keanu turned to look at him, his eyes sharp. "That's the problem, Dante," he said. He gave a tiny smile. "You treat people nicely only when you think they're important." Outside, big black SUVs were waiting. But inside, something important was happening. The whole room felt different now. The feeling of being better than others was gone. The mean looks were gone. Now it was quiet. Everyone was tense. Their eyes moved quickly, avoiding each other. Keanu stood in the middle of the fancy car store. He was not surrounded by shiny cars now. He was surrounded by truth. The truth was heavy. The SUVs outside had closed their doors. But everyone still felt them there, like shadows. Mr. Ronan Vale stood at the edge of the room, very quiet. Like a judge. Dante Cole was near his office. He looked really nervous. His tie was messy. His forehead was shiny with sweat. He was still trying to fix things, still trying to look like he was in control. "Mr. Reeves," Dante said carefully, like he was picking each word. "Let me explain." Keanu raised his hand. "You already had your chance to talk," he said. "Now it's my turn." He pulled a small black tablet from his jacket. He tapped the screen. The big screen in the room, which usually showed car ads, suddenly changed. Everyone turned to look. On the screen was a list of complaints. At the top of each one was the name, Dante Cole. The complaints said things like, "Customer was told to leave because of how they looked." Mean words were used. Only rich-looking people were helped. People of color were turned away. Workers were told to only help certain people. Below those, there were lots of guest complaints too. Many were still not fixed. The room got so quiet, you could hear the sound of someone's glove moving. Keanu stepped forward. His voice was calm but strong. These complaints weren't hidden. They weren't hard to find. People just ignored them. He swiped again. Now, videos from the store's cameras appeared. In one video, a man wearing a brown UPS uniform was told to leave the lobby by Asher. In another, a girl named Lena was giving coffee to a young woman wearing a hoodie. Dante walked over and told her not to because it hurt the brand. People gasped. Keanu looked at Lena. "Do you remember that?" he asked. She nodded slowly. Her eyes were shiny, but she didn't look away. "You were the only one today who acted kindly," Keanu said. "That's why you get to stay." Lena's mouth opened in surprise. Keanu turned to Ronan. "Start a full check of everything. I want every complaint looked at again. Talk to every worker. Until it's all done, this store is closed." Ronan nodded and took out his phone. Dante's voice cracked. You can't do that." Keanu tilted his head. "I already did." Dante stepped closer. He was starting to panic. "Please, Keanu. If I had known." "And that's the problem," Keanu shouted. His eyes were hard now. "You shouldn't need to know someone to be kind. Everyone should be treated with respect." Everyone in the room was quiet. They were listening very closely now. "Luxury," Keanu said, "starts with respect. And you failed at that." Dante stood still. He didn't look like the boss anymore. He looked small. Keanu turned to walk away but stopped. "You think looking rich is what matters," he said, pointing to the screen behind him. "But today, we showed people what really matters." Then he walked toward the big glass doors, leaving Dante behind in the ruins of his perfect little world. Dante stood in the middle of his fancy store, watching everything fall apart. The store used to be his special place, full of quiet, shiny cars and rich people. Not anymore. The workers didn't look at him. The rich clients who once liked him were now whispering and recording things with their phones. And in the center of it all stood Keanu Reeves. "Come, Sil. In charge." Ronan Vale stepped forward. His voice was cool and serious. "Mr. Cole," he said, "you are fired. Right now." Gasps went through the room like wind over glass. Dante's face twisted. He looked shocked, then desperate. You can't be serious." Keanu's voice was low, but strong enough to cut through everything. "He is. I built this store." Dante shouted. "I brought in all the big clients. I made every deal. And pushed out every kind person along the way," Keanu interrupted. "You didn't build a store. You built a place where only certain people felt welcome." Dante opened and closed his mouth. But he had nothing left to say. A man in a navy jacket quietly walked up behind him. He was a security guard. Ronan said, "Your access to the store is gone. Your computer accounts are locked. You are not allowed to come back." Keanu stepped closer. Now he was face to face with a man who had laughed at his boots earlier. "You judged me the second I walked in," Keanu said. His voice was soft but powerful. "You tried to make me feel small because I didn't look rich enough." He let that moment stay in the air. And I wasn't the only one you did that to. Lena stood across the room, holding her hands together. She watched the man who used to yell at everyone now look scared and weak. Dante's shoulders dropped. You don't understand, he said. I was just protecting the brand. No, Keanu said, raising his hand. You were protecting your pride. Then he turned to Ronan. Take him out. The security guard stepped forward, but Dante held up his hand. I'll walk. As he passed the other workers, Dante looked at the ground. No one looked at him. Even Asher looked away. At the door, Dante stopped and looked back. Keanu was still standing in the same spot. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't bragging. He was just watching. Like a man who knew this wasn't about revenge. It was about doing what was right. Dante stepped outside into the sunny California day. He squinted. The sun felt bright. The glass door closed behind him with a little click. And just like that, the story of Dante Cole was over. The room was quiet. No one said anything. It felt like fresh air had finally come into a place that had been closed for too long. Keanu turned to face everyone. The screens behind him still showed the audit and reports, but he didn't need them anymore. He wasn't trying to prove anything now. He was ready to fix things. He looked at Lena, the young worker who had been kind. Come here, he said gently. She walked forward, a little nervous but standing tall. Keanu pulled out a small black car key. It was for the super fancy Aston Martin Valor, the most special car in the showroom. Everyone gasped. I want you to have this, Keanu said, handing her the key. She blinked. But sir, this car is worth $1 million. He smiled. It's also a thank you for seeing me like a person when no one else did. Her hands shook as she took the key. Her eyes were full of tears. Keanu turned back to the room. Some of you came here today to show off. Some came to be seen. Some came to sell or buy. But none of that matters, he said, if we don't know how to treat each other. He looked around at everyone. Workers, guests, even the boss. Luxury isn't about leather seats or fast cars, he said. It's about how people feel when they walk in. This time, the silence was different. It wasn't scary. It was real. People were thinking. Keanu walked to the door. He stopped near the counter with the snacks. He looked back one last time. This place won't just sell cars anymore, he said. It'll give people respect. Then he walked out. The next day, the news was everywhere. Keanu Reeves cleans house at Beverly Hills dealership. From embarrassment to honor, the hidden owner who changed everything. But for the people who were in the room, the lesson meant even more. It wasn't just about Keanu. It was about what happens when kindness is seen as weakness. And when the quiet person finally speaks. Never judge someone by how they look, talk, or dress. Respect isn't something people should have to earn. It's something we all deserve. Because every person who walks through that door might be more than you think. If you liked this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Your support keeps these stories alive and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.